let's see. Is it live on YouTube, or do I have to go to YouTube and do it this way? Let me see. If anybody's watching this live, hello. Oh wait, yeah, it is. Okay, it's already live. I don't know why they did that instead of letting me confirm it on YouTube first. All right, so what's up, everybody? If you're seeing this title of this, we're gonna run through some of the events that have already happened, and also some of the events that will happen in season 2. That's mostly what we're going to be talking about. And then I'm going to roast some theories. This is going to be audio only, no camera. I might plug in my camera. It's just kind of don't have a lot of time for the stream. But anyway, please go follow me on social media. It's, on Twitter, you can follow me at _hunts. And then on Instagram, _hunts_reviews. And then here on YouTube, Sir Hunts. Also, I have a second channel called Mr. Westeros, and eventually these live streams are going to be over there as opposed to on my main channel, and also on the Mr. Westeros channel is where I'm going to be probably putting all of my podcasts, so like the long form videos that I was doing for a few months on this channel, where I'm just kind of shooting the crap and just have myself shown the whole time instead of them being edited. Those kinds of videos are going to be put on that channel. On this one, it's just going to be the content you've been seeing for like the past week. Also, shout out to everybody who's helped me get back in the algorithm. That's awesome. I don't want to jinx myself and be like, yeah, I'm back, baby. But the numbers for like the past few weeks or so, ever since I started covering that show have gone up. So shout out to everybody who has helped out with that. All the new people that have subscribed, gotten like 50 subscribers the past week or so. That's awesome. Thank you all so much for that. Like I said, I don't know if you know this, I did a short yesterday. From was confirmed for the 3rd season. But all that aside, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Nice. We got 10 people watching right now. Shout out to WomanOfSteel in the chat. What's up, buddy? I see you. All right, so the very first thing that obviously happens right after Viserys dies, that really kicks off the dance, is that small council meeting, the initial one that happens, in which on the TV show Alicent decides she needs to get to her son first, because and this is just for the TV show, she's having a conversation with Viserys, and Viserys goes, hey, you know what? Well, he's not that clear. I was about to try to say something funny, but Viserys is like literally on his deathbed, got a few minutes left to live, and he's not like, hey, Alicent, I think that Arslan Aegon should be king. It's more like he's delirious, completely out of it, and he thinks that Alicent is Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra wasn't privy to that conversation. So even though her and Alicent and Rhaenyra had just made up, it doesn't matter, because from Alicent's point of view and perspective, she may not necessarily know what dementia is, so she doesn't know that Viserys is having a hard time not thinking that she's his daughter. So he just continues the conversation that he was having with Rhaenyra, because he's out of it. He's not really that lucid. And Alicent acts accordingly. So, when you think about it, that's actually... I know a lot of people had... problem digesting that, but that actually kind of, in my opinion, makes sense, because it's realistic to the point where, in the situation that they created on the show, so they made Viserys have this horrible disease that wiped him out, whereas in the history book, holy crap, that ant was huge. You're not big no more, ant. I murdered you. Why would you crawl on my laptop? There's no food on my laptop. I don't even eat in the office. Puppy eats in here, though, so the ants are coming in to get her food. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, in the situation they created with giving Viserys this crazy, terrible disease, right? It actually makes sense that he would also suffer from other side effects, and one of those was losing his wits. So that's kind of what happened to Jaehaerys. Jaehaerys literally mistakes Alicent for one of his daughters, Sarah, who escaped really, he banished her. She was like promiscuous and stuff in that old term sense of the word. And he's like, look, you're not doing what I say. You're not conforming to my ideals. Get the fuck out. And she's like, I'll happily. He doesn't tell her to get the fuck out. He's like, you're going to join the Silent Sisters. But she escapes before that. She goes across the narrow sea to create her own way. And she starts a whorehouse. Oh, a pretty famous whorehouse. And, yeah, she's actually still alive in the Great Council, 101 AC. But anyway, she sends a couple of her sons, I think, right? So anyway, what they did with Viserys and Alicent is actually what happens with Jaehaerys and Alicent. In the sense that Jaehaerys is like, oh, you're my daughter, Sarah, who escaped across the narrow sea. You've come back to me, right? But that's not really what happened on the TV show. That was with Alicent. So anyway, in that situation they made, it makes the most sense for it to happen this way because technically Alicent had just made up with Rhaenyra, right? We all think things are going to be good until he dies. That conversation happened. Because honestly, if that conversation hadn't happened between Viserys and Alicent, Viserys thinking he's talking to Rhaenyra, Alicent likely would have made Rhaenyra queen, right? Like you would think that things would be good. Like there might be some arguments, but just imagine this. Remember, they've released the scripts for. I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. They released the scripts or whatever for the pilot episode, for first episode of season 1, and in the script notes, Alicent and Rhaenyra are flirting as youths. So potentially, if Rhaenyra took the crown, is named queen, right, and then Daemon is named king consort, right? I wonder if Rhaenyra and Alicent wouldn't have had sexual relations as they've gotten older. Interesting. The groundwork was laid there. Maybe that's how they would have made up. Sorry, I'm coming off of watching The Witcher. I watched all 5 episodes yesterday, and there's a lot of sex in that. Yeah, I don't know. I'll save my thoughts on what I think of The Witcher for an actual video. But it's okay. I feel like I might appreciate it more if I read the books, but then you hear that they don't really follow the books. I don't know. I feel like you always get a little bit more out of something that's based on books if you read the books, but then also this is based on a video game. So people are like, you could just play the game and watch the show. And I'm like, I always skip past the cinema scenes in video games because I'm not interested. So if I played The Witcher, I would have just as much experience about it as if I'm watching it now, because I'd skip all the cinema scenes. I'd be like, all right, time to go kill some monsters, because like I'm playing video games to be stimulated visually, but not the same as with a movie or a TV show. Anyway, getting back on track here, let's run through the events of what happens, right? So we obviously have that small council meeting, then we have the coronation of Aegon, subsequent coronation of Rhaenyra. We have the Black Council meeting, right? But then jumping into the actual list of events, the very first thing that happens, right, is Daemon goes and takes Harrenhal in the Riverlands. Like, that actually happens before Lucerys is killed by Aemon and Vhagar in the Dance of Bust Shipbreaker Bay. Now, I know people know that. You're watching this. You probably know that. But the average show watcher may not know that. Technically, Daemon was supposed to go and take Harrenhal before the events of Shipbreaker Bay. When, the Dance of Shipbreaker Bay happens, Daemon actually sends a message to Rhaenyra on Dragonstone and says, an eye for an eye, a son for a son. It's because he's not at Dragonstone. Because the first thing he does is go and take Harrenhal. Do them changing those events actually affect the story? No, not at all. They wanted Daemon to be there with Rhaenyra to have that scene, right? And it honestly makes a bit more sense because you kind of can show 2 different reactions to the news of Viserys like dying, and then his crown, instead of going to Rhaenyra, is being usurped and goes to Aegon II, right? You get to see Rhaenyra, who's the actual person that it affects directly. You get to see her reaction to it, and then you also get to see Daemon's reaction to it, right? You get to see Daemon like being the hardened battle commander and start making plans about what to do. So he doubles the perimeter watch around Dragonstone. He's like, all right, we need more men on the battlements. This is the war, baby. Let's do this, right? So it's kind of cool in that sense. But the whole reason why I wanted to bring that point up is like you have those events being moved around, and we haven't even seen Daemon take Harrenhal yet. It's like it doesn't actually affect the story itself, and like you can't say they're changing canon because they aren't. It doesn't really matter, right? So that's kind of what I want to get at for if Rhaenyra takes King's Landing this season, right? So technically, she doesn't take King's Landing until after the Battle of the Gullet. The Battle of the Gullet happens. Jacaerys dies. Jacaerys' death is what gives her the motivation to say, "Fudge it, I'm gonna go take King's Landing." Right? In my opinion, it would be an awesome climax for this season too. Remember, there's only 4 seasons total. If Rhaenyra has King's Landing by episode 8 of season 2, and then she holds King's Landing for 2 seasons. So you have the Greens kind of holding King's Landing for 2 seasons, but Viserys was the main ruler, and then Aegon has it for pretty much all of season 2 until Rhaenyra comes and takes it, and it honestly wouldn't make that much of a difference, right? So I did a plot outline where, and remember, take those with a grain of salt because they're bullshit. I said that at several points in that video, right? I put it in the description to let people know what you're watching is nonsense. The whole point of it is to entertain people throughout this ridiculous wait. Potentially going to be even more ridiculous if SAG-AFTRA goes into the strike thing because the actors can't act no more. So literally productions are going to shut down until they can figure out this strike. But those wait in between seasons is why I make those videos. So you take it with however you want to. You can take it with 2 grains of salt, a spoonful of salt. I was about to say a dick. A dildo up your butt. I don't know. You take it however the fuck you want to, right? It's just know that it's nonsense. It's horse crap. It's not meant to be, it's not meant to be taken as, hey, this is what's gonna happen. And if it doesn't happen this way, then it's right. It's just meant to be like, hey, this is an idea of things that are going to go down. The difference, though, right, with the plot leaks or the leaked scenes or whatever leaked outlines for House of the Dragon, is that the book is already written, so to speak. So Fire and Blood has been out since 2018, and people have known about this story for 5 years, longer than that, because it was first mentioned in World of Ice and Fire and the main Song of Ice and Fire series, which dates back to the 90s, right? So people have known about this story for a while. So when you get leaked information, it has in my opinion, a stronger chance of being legitimate because they're sticking with canon. So obviously, if you can extrapolate between the two of those and take like leaked pictures and leak this and leak that and combine it and make like outlines and stuff, there's a little bit more legitimacy to it than some of the Game of Thrones ones because they stopped following the books, right? But still, all of that's nonsense. Nothing is confirmed until it airs on our screens. Like, there were several scenes in the Game of Thrones Season 6 trailer that were manipulated in order to hide Jon Snow. So it's, even though we didn't see him in the trailer, we saw him in those scenes on screen. So, and then Disney does that with like Marvel movies and Thor's eye being like a hole in Thor Ragnarok, and then in the movie he loses it, right? So I don't know. Take it how you will, right? So after the dance over Shipbreaker Bay, since we're backtracking a bit, the very first thing that we will see Daemon doing in season 2 is taking Harrenhal. Right? We know that when he takes Harrenhal, he's going to be wounded. Now, in canon, that doesn't happen. Daemon takes Caraxes, flies to the top of the Kingspire Tower, and then literally secures it. The older Castellan is a member, I think it's Simon Strong or something. He's like an uncle to Larys and Harwin. He's the one who's left in charge of Harrenhal. When Daemon lands Caraxes on the Kingspire Tower, he immediately submits the castle, and Daemon doesn't lose anybody for the Blacks and doesn't kill anybody for the Greens. And what this does is it makes a massive rallying point in the Riverlands for all of Rhaenyra's forces to go and join banners, right? Now, it's interesting because as soon as Daemon takes Harrenhal, there's civil war in the Riverlands, right? So to be fair, there's always civil war in the Riverlands, but you got to realize that a lot of these houses in the Riverlands will claim for one side and not the other, right? So you have the Brackens and the Blackwoods, one of the most powerful houses in the Riverlands. The Brackens declare for the Greens, and the Blackwoods, Benjicott Blackwood specifically, declares for the Blacks. So you have these houses in Westeros that are relatively close together, fighting each other, infeuding, right outside or in the land surrounding Harrenhal. So Daemon taking Harrenhal and making it a strategic military standpoint is genius, because all of those people that are fighting the opposing members that have signed up for Team Aegon, Aegon 2, right? The Greens, they don't have a rallying point like Rhaenyra's forces do. So if they are out fighting battles and doing, you could say, like hitting caravans up, just doing wartime stuff, they don't have as strong as a backing as Rhaenyra does, because she's got this massive castle where all of her forces are gathering. They're constantly, going back to or having an escape point if the battle gets too crazy, right? So I don't know. I guess I'm trying to break this down too much. I feel like I'm grasping at straws and running out of ways to describe Daemon making a massive, awesome first move, right? Big win for the Blacks. Daemon taking Harrenhal. And like I said, in canon, that happens before, the dance over Shipbreaker Bay, right? So, we have the Green Council, the Black Council, the crowning of Aegon, the crowning of Rhaenyra, the taking of Harrenhal, the dance over Shipbreaker Bay. The very next thing that happens after that, blood and cheese. And you know what? Let's switch this image up for that, because we have some... Oh, wait, let's do this real quick. Before I go any further, let's talk about this. Wait, that didn't even change. What the hell? Why didn't that change the picture? Okay. There we go. All right, there we go. These are some new images from Redanian Intelligence, which is like a leaked site for The Witcher, but they also do House of the Dragon stuff. I tried to scroll back as far as I could on Twitter to find out the source of the images so I could share that, and I think they're from Redania, because they're like the first people who posted these pictures. But here's a quick question for everybody watching. Does this horse look burned to you? To me, it doesn't, right? This horse doesn't, but the next one does. And the main reason, I'll tell you why here in a second, but just type in the chat, if you're typing in the chat, does this horse look burned to you? This one, to me, doesn't, but the next one I'm about to show you does. Riley Rain says, hi, Sir Hunts. Hi! Shelly Howard says, happy Friday, Shelly. Ernest Nathan says, I believe they will do 5 seasons, and season 3 will end with the taking of King's Landing. I don't think so, man. This show doesn't have enough, or the source material is not enough to go for 5 seasons. They'd be stretching it, and they'd run into the opposite problems that Game of Thrones had in the later seasons. So remember, people wanted more from Game of Thrones because there's all this source material in the A Song of Ice and Fire novels, right? They would say, end House of the Dragon, because they're stretching it out because there's not enough source material. It's just a history book. It's a quick... When you look at the entirety of Fire and Blood, like, literally, the whole first half is talking about Aegon, his sons, Jaehaerys, all their children, and then you have this little blurb, that's the Dance of the Dragons. And George does that because he's like, I want to show you guys what the Targaryens are like with their dragons, and then what the Targaryens are like when they have the most dragons, and then what the Targaryens are like post-dragons. So there's not enough, in my opinion, to make the show 5 seasons. If they did, from jump, 7-episode seasons or 8-episode seasons, maybe you could stretch it to 5. But really, that'd be a budgetary issue, because you'd have to include every single battle that happens. Every single, you can't skip nothing. You can't highlight or showcase the best moments of the story. You have to cover everything. But anyway, Barbara says those horses look bare up, not burnt, right? So this is the one that I think, in my opinion, looks burned. Those look like ashes. This one right here. Remember, these images are from Redanian Intelligence. Go follow me on Twitter, and I'd share all this stuff. But yeah, this one looks burned, right? Not like crispy, but like it's got ashes on it. That's very clearly ashes. like the white dusting that's on the and these are leaked images from the set of House of the Dragon season 2. Sorry, I did put leaks in the title of this. But yeah, so and by the way, my patrons have known about this live stream for a while. So if everybody's like, dude, anybody watching this who subscribed to me is like, man, you should have let me know this live stream was going to be happening. I'm sorry. Technically, I did because I made a post, and that's still in my community section where I mentioned how I'm going to be doing theory roast, but that'll be towards the end of this. Anyway, my opinion, with this horse looking ashy like this, confirmed Rook's Rest. Rook's Rest is kind of like, it's going to be, in my opinion, the biggest battle. Like, not just, I mean, obviously all we've had to compare it is, oh, why did it do the same one? I should put the same picture up. Here was the other image from this. Oh, and then it changed that one to the, what is going on? Okay, I'm gonna have to delete this. All right, and then I'll add a new source. There we go. Okay, so in my opinion, the ashes on the horse confirms Rook's Rest. Main reason being is because you can combine it with these soldiers right here, and they kind of look ashy as well. Here, I'll zoom in for you. Ashen, right? The face, specifically on this dummy right here, it looks like it's got, ashes on it, burned. I did see some people saying on Twitter, some fan accounts saying that this could be the Battle of the Burning Mill. And then they said that some of the people have yellow on and that the other ones have clearly black and red. So they think it's the Brackens versus the Blackwoods. That's a cute idea. Or not cute. That's a good idea. A fucking spider just dropped into my shoe. Holy crap. Get the fuck off me, dude. Jesus Christ. Well, this live stream's de-fucking monetized. Oh my god, get off me, you mother... Alright, I'm bringing out the lighter. Oh, gotcha. Curl up like the little you are, spider. You drop from the ceiling into my shoe, and I'm sitting down. Are you kidding me? Oh... Where was I? Oh, yeah, Brackens, Blackwoods. We saw the Brackens in season 1, in episode 3, when Rhaenyra is visiting Storm's End, and she hears the proposal from Sam Blackwood, and then the Bracken insults him and steps up, and he's like this Chad guy. You know what? I'm just going to pull the image up. I bet you that pops up. Chad Bracken, House of the Dragon. Okay, maybe it didn't. It did, but for the Blackwood. Oh, his actual name was Chad. They named him Chad Blackwood. He's supposed to be, in my opinion, I think he's supposed to be the father of Bloody Ben, who's this kid that's like battle-born. He's like in the Song of Ice and Fire books, Aemon, well, he's not Aemon yet, but Mance Rayder's son that he has with Dalla. Dalla's pregnant, and then she starts giving birth right when Stannis shows up to sweep the wildlings from taking the wall. Jon Snow forces Gilly to take Aemon's baby because her baby's just a regular wildling, and he thinks that it won't be burned once they find out because it doesn't have any king's blood, right? So when Gilly leaves the wall with Sam, for Sam to go become a maester with Aemon, right? Aemon One-Eye, Maester Aemon. Or not Aemon One-Eye. Maester Aemon. The baby, they're after Maester Aemon passes, Sam and Gilly are kind of like running names past each other, and they go, Aemon Battleborn, or Aemon Battlesong, or something like that. And that's the name that should be given to Benjamin Blackwood, because he's literally like born in battle. Like, he finds his peace early on as a 13-year-old boy born in the middle of the battle. But anyway, I now have this image. I think, can y'all? Yeah, but y'all couldn't see it. Here it is. This guy right here. That dude, he very clearly, in my opinion, that coloring anyway, doesn't look like any of these dudes over here. Like, you can tell, right? So we've already seen what the Brackens and the Blackwoods look like. And in my opinion, when I first saw these, I didn't even think that those dudes were Westerosi soldiers, because Westerosi soldiers wear steel. Like, where's your armor at, fellas? These look like Kragus Drahar troops. But to be fair, the reason why they did that is because it's probably really expensive to dress dummies up in full plate steel armor and stuff. And to be fair, not everybody on the battlefield is going to be wearing heavy armor like that. Usually it's the mounted knights. But these guys don't look armored at all. Like, I don't know what your legs are exposed there, buddy. You got a hardened cuirass on. You think that's going to stop Dragon Flame? Nuh-uh. I think maybe all of these dummies are going to be roasted and lit on fire, and then their clothing won't necessarily matter so much. But in my opinion, they're definitely not Brackens or Blackwoods. They probably won't show something like the burning of the mill, or the Battle of the Burning Mill or whatever, because there's not really. I mean, with 8 episodes, let's be fair, they want to showcase the characters that everybody likes and that played a massive role in it, and they probably won't show this. Maybe it'll be a glimpse of it, but I don't think. I think these dudes are from Rook's Rest. In my opinion, it makes the most sense that they are actually Rhaenyra's foot soldiers loyal to her at Rook's Rest. To be completely fair, it has to be Rook's Rest because that battle's massive, and it's going to be probably the most expensive sequence to film in the season, so they probably want to start filming it early on. The reason that we have, technically we all think it's going to be the Battle of the Gullet happening in Season 3 is because Rook's Rest is such a massive battle. Like, Battle of the Gullet is bigger, right? But you can't have Rook's Rest, do it justice, and then have the Battle of the Gullet and do it justice in the same season. Also, some of the dragon riders in the Battle of the Gullet, remember, all of the dragon seeds are fighting, right? Then you have Jacaerys fighting as well, so it's going to be huge, right? But then also, like I said, in Rook's Rest, you have 3 dragon riders as well. You got Rhaenys, Meleys, Aemon, Vhagar, and then Aegon Sunfire. So you kind of can't have that happen in the same season. And also, like I said, a lot of the riders for the other dragons in Shipbreaker Bay, like Aegon the Third, and Viserys 2, well, eventually Viserys 2, but Rhaenyra's younger children are riding dragons, and they're like infants and toddlers. So they're kind of like trying to, I guess, plan around that and maybe set up something in Season 2 that will be the reason why they change from canon and what happens in the not Shipbreaker Bay, but the battle over the Blackwater. Yeah, I feel like I've said all I could say about these leaked images. So let's go back to the events. Let me check Twitter real quick and see if there's any other pictures that have come out. They're on European time, so stuff drops all the time. Let's see. Hashtag House of the Dragon. I'm not seeing anything aside from what was already up here. Yeah, so that's good. And remember, I saw these posted on Redania Intelligence first. There have been several other accounts that have shared them, but I saw them on Redania Intelligence first. All right, so going back to the actual events of the stories here. Let me switch the display up a little bit. Change this image as well. How's that? What do y'all think of that? Also, like I said, shout out to everybody watching this. I'm gonna be doing theory roast in about another 10 minutes or so. All right. So the events, right? So we have obviously the small council meeting after Viserys dies, right? And you have the Green Council, Black Council, Aegon being crowned, Rhaenyra being crowned, right? Then you have Daemon taking Harrenhal. Then you have the dance over Shipbreaker Bay, and then the moment that everybody, oh yeah, so I should have probably made these images that. The moment that everybody is kind of dreading, but also simultaneously looking forward to, is very clearly Blood and Cheese. Like, Blood and Cheese, as terrible as it is, it kind of has to happen because it shows you that the gloves are off, right? Like, technically what shows you the gloves are off are when Aemon kills Lucerys. But that's different. Like, even though Aemon kills Lucerys and he's an envoy and, like, a dragon dies and a dragon rider dies, it's still not quite as nitty-gritty as the story's going to get until Blood and Cheese, right? Because Blood and Cheese is literally like... and here's the thing. We don't technically know if Aemon meant to kill Lucerys on Arrax. We just know that it happened, right? We don't know the exact events. We just know that there was some words were exchanged between Aemon and Lucerys. And Lucerys was kind of like, I'm here not to fight. My mother sent me as an envoy. Aemon's like, put your eye out. Like, all that happens in canon. But, like, we don't actually know Aemon's intentions. Like, it makes it, like, when you hear Aemon put a bunch of innocent people to the slaughter when he takes Harrenhal, you're like, okay, Aemon's a bad guy, right? But in A Song of Ice and Fire, in the main series, even the bad guys aren't fully bad guys. So there has to be some reasoning for Aemon to do what he does. In the history books, it's just easier for the Macers to be like, Aemon was a corrupted dude, right? Let's just put this stuff on him, and we don't really know his motivation. Let's just say he did these things, right? So that's not the case on the TV show. They're giving him backstory. It was an accident. Clearly, you can see the terrified look on his face after Vhagar kills Lucerys and Arrax. Like, Aemon didn't want that to happen, right? But Blood and Cheese is different, right? No matter how they depict it on the TV show, it is a very intentional moment in the Dance of the Dragons that shows you that nobody's safe. Nobody is safe. That's the whole point of Blood and Cheese. It's like, children aren't even safe. Even completely innocent, like, children that are related to the person who, like, whether Daemon does it or Rhaenyra does it on the TV show, doesn't matter. It's directly from their hands. They're killing their own kin, and it's because the gloves are off. Like, the war's officially started. They don't care. Anybody can get it. Remember the guy from that video, lock up your door? They're raping everybody, right? Same thing. Lock up your doors. They killing everybody out here, right? It's a quintessential moment that happens in the events that make up Dance of the Dragons, the Blood and Cheese, right? And after Blood and Cheese, we have Rook's Rest. Rook's Rest is, in my opinion, going to be the culmination of, like, clearly the, like, when Daemon takes Harrenhal and then the wars that happen, so the Civil War and the Riverlands and all that stuff, it's probably going to be tied into, like, the moment surrounding, potentially, like, it's hard to tell. Like, technically, Rook's Rest is in the Crown Lands, and it is near King's Landing, and the Riverlands are not, right? The Riverlands are where Harrenhal's in the dead center of them, so, let me see, a couple more things that are going to happen this season. Obviously, the Battle of the Gullet is not happening, but the Battle of Honeywine will likely happen and will be shown, and maybe could even be some of those images that I was showing earlier with, let me pull those back up. This right here, and that's with Daeron the Daring, right? So Daeron is just technically Daeron Targaryen up until he has the Battle of the Honeywine, because in that, he sort of saves most of the green forces, and his uncle names him Daeron the Daring because he's got a bunch of courage, and what he did was basically show up on his dragon Tessarion and roast all of these black forces in the last moments where some green commanders were going to die. So he's dubbed Daeron the Daring after the Battle of Honeywine. So potentially that could be what's happening here, maybe. It would make sense as to why all of these dead dudes are wearing House Targaryen colors and not the greens of the High Towers. So maybe this is from the Battle of Honeywine. I just don't necessarily think so. But that'll probably be happening this season as well, right? So we'll have Daemon taking Harrenhal, Blood and Cheese, Rook's Rest, potentially Battle of the Honeywine, and there's rumors that Rhaenyra could take King's Landing at the end of the season, right? And that would mean that the Battle of the Gullet for the show canon has been moved to after Rhaenyra takes King's Landing. And it's one of those things where, like, they moved around the dance over Shipbreaker Bay to happening before Daemon taking Harrenhal, right? It doesn't really change literally all that much at all. It just changes the motivation for what happens to Rhaenyra to want to take King's Landing. And according to plot outline that I've told people in that video and in this live stream is fake, right? Sir Eric Cargill is actually the death that pushes Rhaenyra to want to go and take King's Landing. It'll be interesting, right? Cargill Brothers follow me on Instagram, which is dope as hell. Also, Claire Kilner follows me on Instagram, which is dope as hell. Director for season 1 and now season 2. But yeah, shout out. So it will be interesting to see. That's another thing that will definitely be happening is the duel of the Cargill twins for season 2. All right, so let's do. Let's do this. This is called Theory Roast. And I had this image picked out because I thought it was funny. Oh, wait. But I'm going to change a couple of things on screen. All right, there we go. Okay, so this is Theory Roast. And what I did was I went to my Patreon and I asked people to submit to me their craziest theories about A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones and stuff. And I'm going to do the ones on Patreon first, and then I'm going to try to run through some of the ones on the community post. And it's not too late because I'll be doing another Theory Roast video or live stream or whatever, so you can go and leave your comments on that one as well. But this is Theory Roast with Mr. Westeros. You like how that rolls off your tongue? All right, so the first one, and this is completely unrelated to House of the Dragon leaks. This is, I call myself a book expert. This is a book expert. Sorry, I had to finish lighting my blunt. This is a book expert's opinion on other book readers' opinions on theories they made, right? So, the first one was submitted by Billy Bob Robertson, and he says, Tyrion equals Targaryen, destroy it. All right, Billy Bob. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because I have mentioned this almost every single time I talk about tinfoil theories or anything on Tyrion or anything on secret Targaryens and stuff. I always bring this up. Tyrion is not old enough to be a secret Targaryen. Plain and simple. Tyrion is not old enough. But you know who is a secret Targaryen? Or who's old enough to be secret Targaryens? Jaime and his sister Cersei. Alright, so like the way it goes is technically the Mad King in his youth had a thing for Joanna. Like, I think he's quoted as saying in A World of Ice and Fire that like he's sort of upset that his wife, Rhaella, cannot whelp out children as quickly. Rhaella has a bunch of miscarriages in between Daenerys and Viserys and Rhaegar, right? She's not exactly the most healthy woman or healthy pregnancy having woman, and it's probably because she's having sex with someone so closely related to her, right? So the Mad King sees, and this is before he's known as the Mad King. He's like working his way to becoming the Mad King. He's the slightly annoying king at this point, right? He sees Joanna have healthy twins, right? And he's like, damn, why can't I have that? But that all ties into rumors that one of the fallen outs between Tywin and the Mad King comes from the Mad King taking liberties with Joanna in the bedding ceremony. So, like, in Westeros, it's tradition for the bride and the groom to get stripped down naked, and then they get marched up to the room to have sex from people that are participants in the wedding, right? So this happens to Catelyn and Ned. It's really funny because Catelyn thinks to herself when she's thinking about her own bedding ceremony at the Red Wedding. So this is literally before she dies, right? People are ripping off her brother's clothes and her brother's bride's clothes, and she thinks back to her bedding ceremony, and she thinks about how one of Ned's soldiers, was it Roderick Cassell? They were really drunk, and they were making bawdy jokes, and like while they're pulling Catelyn's clothes off, and they're like, nice titties, but they kept saying I'm sorry. I don't know, it was really funny. So anyway, technically the Mad King could have taken liberties during that. So it's possible that Jaime and Cersei, like if the Mad King took King's Right and took Joanna's, I don't even think that happened though. That's the thing, because like Tywin's not the dude that would allow that to happen, because Tywin leaves King's Landing when the kids are born, and then he brings them back, like to show the Mad King. He brings Cersei back to court, and that's when he asked Jaime to be a Knight of the King's Guard. It's just mentioned, like specifically, the person who denies the rumors the most are Maester Pycelle, and Maester Pycelle kind of will do anything for the Lannisters, right? Like Maester Pycelle literally says Tywin Lannister is the greatest man who's ever lived in 1,000 years. Like the gods have never given the Seven Kingdoms as great a man as Tywin Lannister, right? Pycelle's diehard for the Lannisters. And then after Tywin dies, he's diehard for the Lannisters still, working with Kevin, right? Obviously, Kevin and Pycelle are killed at the end of A Dance with Dragons, but it doesn't look so good that the person who denies the Mad King taking liberties with Joanna the most are Tywin's best, like it's like Tywin's best voice, right? It's Pycelle. Pycelle is always going to make sure Tywin looks the greatest, is represented the most, his memory is respected, all that stuff. So like the person who denies those rumors the hardest are Tywin. Or I'm sorry, the person who denies the rumors on Tywin being cuckolded by the Mad King, right, are Pycelle. So it kind of makes him look guilty a little bit, because Pycelle obviously knows that Tywin wouldn't be respected and revered if the Mad King like had sex with his wife before he did and fathered Jaime and Cersei, right? That's kind of how the rumor goes. For Tyrion, it's like, oh, Tyrion's obsessed with dragons. Tyrion's got a mismatched eye, and technically the Targaryens are the only ones who have had features like that. Tyrion's black eye has been described as purple in certain lights. So Tyrion has one green eye, which is like the Lannisters, and one black eye, or purple eye, like the Targaryens. So people are like, the symbology is there. Tyrion's a Targaryen. Also, Tyrion used to light fires in the depths of Casterly Rock and pretend he was a dragon. Tyrion knows a lot about dragons, to the point where someone who's potentially thinking of, we're talking about young Griff here, Aegon, Griff has Tyrion write down everything he knows on dragons. So John Connington's like, hey, Tyrion, here's some pages of paper. Write down everything you know about dragons, because Tyrion is so well versed in dragon lore that he could actually help someone who's trying to either tame a dragon or learn more about them, which is what he's going to do with Daenerys. He's probably going to teach Daenerys some things about her dragon's behavior. So all of that, Tyrion's physical looks, his like the way his mind works in his POV, people are like, oh yeah, he sounds like a Targaryen, right? But I just don't think he is. I trust that like when the moment that Tyrion has with Tywin where he kills him, like it would take away so much if Tywin's not actually Tyrion's father. It would change him because then Tyrion would kind of revert back to old Tyrion because like him killing his father honestly has him make a turn for the best, or he's like starting to make a turn for the best, whereas he's not just putting himself and having sex with Shay first. And obviously protecting King's Landing falls under that umbrella of trying to be able to make sure he can continue to have sex with Shay. Like he's doing it for the better good, like protecting King's Landing, but ultimately it's very selfish reasons why he kind of wants to show up his sister. He wants to prove to his dad that he can handle a position of power, like being, hand of the king. And then immediately after the events of Blackwater Bay, he asked Tywin, yo, name me as your heir, give me Casterly Rock, right? So you can tell that his motivation was still kind of self-influenced, right? But then in Dance with Dragons in his POV, he's got nothing, and he's trying to help Penny. He's trying to help Penny, someone else, right? This dwarf that's with him in prison. And he's trying to help Jorah too, and Jorah was mean as hell. Jorah's the reason why he's a slave, right? He's trying to help people selflessly. So Tyrion's in the middle of this massive journey of changing who he is as a person. And if you take away him killing his own father and Tyrion finds out that his dad was actually the Mad King, that'll make Tyrion, in my opinion, make a turn for the worse, because then he's like, oh yeah, I killed Tywin for myself and not for the greater good, right? Like, I don't know. So yeah, that was the first one. Then the next one, thank you for that, Billy Bob, you Scottish bastard. I'm just kidding. Yeah, Billy Bob is a Scotsman. I'm a Scotsman too myself, so I can say he's a bloody bastard. I can say that. That was a weak Scottish accent. But the next one is from Tyler Schnabel, and he says, shout out Tyler, he's a Dragon Knight member over on Patreon. He says, Mance wrote the pink letter. Or Tormund was glamored to look like Jon Snow and was actually the one killed at the end. All right, so let's start with the first one. Mance wrote the pink letter. That's not Mance's style. So, like, I know that's a weak roast, but that's just not Mance, the character who we know, right? Interacting with Jon Snow and stuff, and then, described by Tormund while talking to Jon Snow and stuff. Like, that's not his style. Mance seems pretty straightforward. Mance is this dude who, it's mentioned that by Lady Selyse, Mance's parentage was a random Night's Watch dude and then a lady wildling. So apparently the Night's Watch guy fathers Mance upon a random wildling lady, and then that wildling lady, who's Mance's mom, brings Mance to the wall when Mance is young, and Mance grows up as a Night's Watchman. So Mance is literally half wildling, half Westerosi Night's Watchman, so south of the wall kind of, right? He's literally an in-between both worlds. He walks the line. Then eventually what happens when he leaves the Night's Watch is he's attacked by a shadow cat while out on a ranging mission. And the Maester is too far from where he's at. So the other Night's Watchmen that he's with decide to take him to a Woods Witch healer type of lady that they know could potentially save his life, and they have no other choice, otherwise he'll die. Right? So Mance is ripped up by this shadow cat. This shadow cat's like basically a mountain lion. But look, way cooler, like a fantasy version of a mountain lion. Mance is attacked by it, and then, like I said, he's taken to this healer, and this healer lady, initially, who he went to go see, is dead, but her daughter's alive, and she heals him, right? And she ends up going a step further. She not only heals Mance and resets his bone and stuff, but she also repairs his black cloak, his Night's Watch cloak, which, when you read these Song of Ice and Fire books, George is really heavy on describing his world, which is what makes it so amazing. But the Night's Watchmen and their black cloaks, it's like synonymous, right? It's actually really funny. Black Cokes and Bravos. Like, if you wear black in Bravos, it means you're the most badass motherfucker. But if you wear black in Westeros, it means you're technically the most passive person because you've been subdued because you're in the Night's Watch and you can't do anything aside from protect the wall, right? But at one point, people who wore black in Westeros probably were some of the most badass dudes in Westeros, because the Night's Watch used to be this revered position where people would, like, it'd be an honor to go join the Night's Watch and defend the realm from wildlings, raiders, and snarks and grumpkins and stuff, right? That'd be an honor. But anyway, getting way back on track here. The wildling healer goes a step further, repairs his cloak by using the scarlet thread from a shy that her mother got on a shipwreck, right? So this is the most precious item this random wildling woman has, and she just gives it to Mance. She's like, here, dude, right? So Mance goes on his merry way, all healed up, looking at his badass new black cloak with scarlet thread striped through, right? Badass. Mance has got a bit of a style, because he also rocks this raven wing helm, and imagine him being in wildling gear, but then this all like dope steel raven helm, winged helm, right? He looks badass, right? Then he's got all these wildlings around him. He's like the king and stuff. Mance is dope. So anyway, he goes back to the wall after being healed by this wildling woman. He's got a dope new cloak, and when he gets there, the dang a-hole Night's Watch members are like, yo, take that off. We've got you a new cloak. It's all black, no annoying red stripes in it. Take that off. Mance is personally offended. And he's like, you dickhead. Why would I do that? Why would I take off this cloak? I'm still in the Night's Watch. I'm going to keep it because, like, it reminds me of this wildling person saving his life. In the Night's Watch, people are like, no, throw it away. We've got you a black one. So that's when Mance is like, all right, well, you guys. Not only am I not going to throw it away, I'm going to throw y'all away, in the sense that I'm going to leave and go be north of the wall. So that's Mance's backstory, right? Mance has, in my opinion, one of the best backstories. It's just so random. George is able to come up with it, right? He's like, oh yeah, Mance's backstory is he's literally half wildling, half Westerosi Northman. And the fact that Mance's father is just a member of the Night's Watch kind of makes you wonder if his father's not someone crazy like Aemon. Right? Blind Maester Aemon has been at the wall for a really long time. So it's possible that, or even Bloodraven was at the wall for really long. Bloodraven's still alive now, but it's just possible that one of these Targaryens fathered Mance, and Mance is half Targaryen, half wildling, and he's king, right? And he's got king's blood, right? From his ancestry, and then also he's got king's blood because he's a king, right? That would be crazy. Right? So anyway, saying all that, it doesn't seem like it's in Mance's personality to write the pink letter. Tyler Schnabel, thank you for submitting that. And then the other one was Tormund was glamored to look like Jon Snow, and he was the one that was actually killed. That was really easy to dismiss, Tyler, because Jon Snow, like, we have Jon's POV of when he dies, and he's for sure Jon Snow. He's not secretly titty drinking Tormund. Because if he was Tormund, he would have thought of something like, instead of his last word being snow, which like proves that Jon wargs into, or ghost, which proves that Jon wargs into ghost, his last words would have been like giant's titty milk or something. You know, Tormund's like tall talker. He's like the best shit talker, so to speak, in all of Westeros. So if Tormund was the one that was killed, he would have had all types of crazy thoughts going through his head instead of just ghost. And like, he wouldn't have been trying to calm down everybody to not. I mean, Tormund would have been trying to calm down everybody from not killing one Wegdar 1-1. But if anything, Tormund would have egged on the giant to kill all the Night's Watch and Queen's men. And then the last, excuse me, the last theory from a patron, and I'll do a couple from the community post, is from Mixed Queen Destiny Phillips 420. Her and Tyler Schnabel are executive producers of all of my content here on YouTube. They joined the tier over on Patreon, so thank you so much for y'all's support. Also, thank you to everybody who's watching. Thank you for joining me and hanging out for this hour. She says, Daenerys is still alive, and then the other one is Aemon or Daemon is the future White Walker. So Aemon or Daemon as a White Walker, that is complete. I mean, you know this because you wanted me to roast it. It's complete nonsense. That only came out because the actors who play Aemon and Daemon look similar to each other. Hang on, Danny. We're going to go outside soon. And then the actor who plays the Night King, Vladimir Furtick, looks similar to Aemon and Daemon. So it's kind of like how they said Isaac Hempstead Wright. There were people that said Isaac Hempstead Wright looks like the Night King. That's kind of that same theory. Like Daemon becoming the Night King is ridiculous. Aemon becoming the Night King, ridiculous. Daemon surviving the dance and living on in the Quiet Isle, totally plausible, right? You got to realize that that's happened, or it's happening currently with Sandor. So Sandor is left for dead, and then he's discovered by a maester and taken to this area known as the Quiet Isle, which is like this location in the middle of this massive lake that's like untouched by war because of the way that the tides work in the rivers that surround this area, right? It makes it impossible for anybody who's on a horse to get out to this island. So Daemon literally is in a battle that happens right above that, right? The battle above the God's Eye. And then he falls down near there. And then there's rumors that supposedly Nettles finds his body like washed up on the shore, and he's still alive, and then she takes him and he lives out the remainder of his days with her, and like this sort of like this Disney-esque happy ending. That is way more plausible than Aemon or Daemon being a Night King. And then your other theory, Daenerys still being alive, I can't even roast that because I hope that's the case for the Game of Thrones TV show. Daenerys was carried off. She's not technically still alive, but resurrected, right? So she definitely died when Jon Snow killed her, but then came back to life and is still alive in that sense. I can't even roast that. I can't even roast that, Destiny. I hope that's true. But then some of the other ones real quick. Hang on, let me let my dog out. She's whining. Hang on one second. Don't chew on my cables, please. Don't chew on my cables. You can chew on my shoe, but don't chew on my cables. I need my microphone cables. All right. So one of the most upvoted ones, and this is from a channel member as well. Shout out to the Point Kells. They said the Maesters help facilitate the downfall of the dragons in House Targaryen. Here's the thing, guys. I said submit to me roastable theories, not theories that I currently believe in. I definitely think the Maesters had a downfall in House Targaryen in the Song of Ice and Fire books, but also ones that are just crazy outlandish. So even if it's a theory that I can't get behind, and it's like plausible somewhat, I can't really roast it because it's too good, you know? So the Maesters helping to kill the dragons and the Targaryens, which has very well been established, and I've even made videos on it, I can't roast that. But thank you for submitting that to the Point Killers. You submitted an unroastable theory. It's just too good. And then another one from Jedi Slayer, the Faceless Men created the Doom of Valyria. Yes, I believe that as well. It's like some of y'all know theories that I like, right? And then you mention them in the comments and try to make me roast theories that I like and believe in. I can't do that one. Sorry, yet again. Then another one from Maester Aemon and No Eyes, and they said, this dude's always leaving funny comments. They said, dragons came from a second moon that was an egg. When it cracked, dragons poured out and into the world. This is mentioned in the main Song of Ice and Fire books. I mean, there's a really famous YouTuber here called Lucifer Means Lightbringer that has done a really in-depth theory video on that. So I mean, I'd have to go watch that video. I can't really roast that theory because I don't really know it. Like, it is mentioned in the World of Ice and Fire, but a lot of things are mentioned in passing. And you kind of just get to pick your favorite, craziest lore details and attention or things like that to pick to crack. So I'm going to do one more here. One person said, how much time do you have? And then just laughing. Oh, here's one. Tywin Lannister. This is from a username Skylark STL. This will be the last one. They said Skylark STL says Tywin Lannister and Grandmaster Pycelle were gay lovers. I mean, it's like any character that has over the normal amount of affection for another character that's male. Everybody goes, oh yeah, they're secretly gay. Pycelle, on the TV show, definitely isn't. Remember, he's sleeping with the women. And then also, if I'm not mistaken, in the books, he does that as well, too, because he's been caught, like, being overly curious with a lot of the servants. And, like, I think there's mention of him, like, fondling serving girls and stuff. So, I don't think so. That was a really kind of crazy one. I don't think I've ever heard that. But all that's besides the point. This is going to be right where I wrap this up, right at 1 hour, 16 minutes. Please do me a massive favor. Oh, crap, sorry. Follow me on social media. Please subscribe to me here on YouTube, but also follow me on social media. Follow me over on Twitter at Sir_Hunt or at Mr. Westeros. I changed my long-time Twitter handle from Dragon Daddy to Mr. Westeros. Mr. Westeros is actually my second channel name. Then also on Instagram, Sir_Hunt_reviews. And then here on YouTube, Sir Hunt's reviews. And also, please subscribe to my second channel, and that's Mr. Westeros. Shout out to about the 30 to 35 people we had watching consistently the whole time. Shout out to everybody that's going to be watching this afterwards. And special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. Tyler Schnabel, the North Must Remember, my girl Breanne Johnson, Destiny Phillips 420. Thank you all so much. And thank you for watching. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully it didn't get demonetized, but it probably did. Eventually, the next live stream that I do will be on my second channel, Mr. Westeros. So go subscribe to that, please. Along that, the ladies was that